Okay. Mic on. Whoa! My face is in the corner. That's new. That's new! Hello. As you can see, we have some beautiful natural light behind us. Enjoy this sunny 10-degree day. Do not be deceived by the sun. It is a dirty liar. It is freezing out there, which is why we are inside. And we are going to talk about Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear Strive. Been a while since we've done some video content on the channel. I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do besides play a really bad PS2 game about a rat that cooks in the kitchen? And I thought, new year, let's do some content that is, how do I put it? Worthwhile. How about that? Let's do some content that's worthwhile. So here's what I'm thinking, right? And if the title of the video probably already gives this away, but there's a lot of content out there on how to get better at a fighting game. But a lot of this content assumes that you have a baseline understanding of fighting games that just a lot of people don't have, it's an old storied thing. And there's a lot of content out there that will describe combos with number inputs and all sorts of things like that. And it's all really helpful. It's all great. But if you don't have a baseline understanding, there's nothing you can do. So today, what I'm going to do with the channel is we are going to do a series of videos that are just assuming that you have never played a fighting game in your life. We're going to start from the ground up, work our way up, because there's been a lot of people out there that really like what they see in Guilty Gear, want to be able to play it, and they can. Or not rather that they can't, but that it's intimidating would be more accurate, right? It's intimidating because it moves fast, it's quick, and if you don't have any sort of baseline understanding of how to play a fighting game, it all just seems like nonsense. So what I've done here is I have loaded up training mode. My advice to anyone who is just starting to play a fighting game, and everyone works different ways. Some people enjoy just going out and getting destroyed until they kind of figure out what's going on. For a lot of people, though, that's also demoralizing, and eventually you'll just bounce off. It happens to a lot of people. What I like to do when a new fighting game comes out is I like to just go into training mode, mess with some characters, figure out which ones sort of feel good to me, And so for the time being in Guilty Gear, I've landed on Giovanna here. So we're going to see a lot of her today. At some point I'm going to change my training dummy to Potemkin, because it's important for the purposes of a lesson here. But okay, we're going to start today with just normals. So what's a normal? A normal is what happens when you just press a button, right? So in Guilty Gear, we have, I believe, five normals, I suppose you could say. We have our light punch, which for Giovanna is just this little shoulder check here. We have our light kick. We have slash, which for Giovanna is the series of kicks here. And we have heavy slash, big hit and button. You'll notice with Giovanna, it also moves her forward a little bit too. And then lastly, we have dust. Boom, there it is. So I think dust is maybe the first part where a lot of people are just kind of messing with the game, don't really understand what its purpose is. And so we're going to get into that. Because it does seem like it's got this really long startup. For a lot of characters, it has a really short range too. For poor Happy Chaos over here, it's real bad. How do I swap to him? There's a way to do it. Oh god. Maybe I should have experimented. Note for next lesson. Trevor should experiment in training mode a little bit first before he does this. Okay. Anyway, let's not worry about that for now. So let's talk a little bit about the purpose of these buttons. No. We'll talk a little bit about the purposes of these buttons first. So probably the most fundamental thing to know, especially in Guilty Gear, about your normals, is that some of them will actually change based on your proximity to the opponent. So in the case of slash, when I am at a distance, I do this little kick thing. Let me get up here. I'll just pop, right? 3 little kicks, nice and easy. What happened there? Why that happen? Where'd my kicks go? Why wasn't I kicking? Why is she doing that now? So what's happening there is this is what's called a close slash in Guilty Gear. When you're in close proximity, you actually have a different move. And so for Giovanna, it's this little shoulder check here, and you'll notice it's very fast. It's almost instantaneous, so it's very difficult for people to avoid this. So what we can do from that, right, is we can actually slash and then slash again. Look at that. And so if you're just starting out, for a lot of characters, this is... okay. I was going to say this is universal. It's kind of not anymore, right? With the DLC characters, there's a few people that are a little different. But for the vast majority of the characters, this is a nice little simple combo that you can do with almost all of them. Bop, 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 bop. For some people, it's just going to be 2 hits. For Giovanna, it's this 4-hit thing. But yeah, so that's close slash, right? An important thing to understand. We do bop, 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 bop. And we can do that with almost anybody in the game. So that's one thing you can do with almost all the characters now. There's a few exceptions among the DLC cast, but you've just learned your first combo. So congratulations. Close slash into slash. So what else can we do with our buttons here, right? So we figured out we can go close slash, or just close slash slash. We also have this heavy slash. Oh, yeah, well, we can't. Heavy slash doesn't really change up close, does it? It's always just that kick. But what if we do... That worked, right? That worked. Bop, 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 bop. Look at that. So we just figured out a way to extend this combo a little bit, right? We can do this heavy slash. And not only that, but look at how far it puts them away. It gives us a lot of space to work with, if we ever need some distance. Problem solved. So what else can we do here? So what about the other 2 buttons, right? Because we've talked now about close slash and heavy slash, which you're probably going to use those a lot, I think for a lot of new players, there is a lot of emphasis on just smashing the heavy button over and over. And that'll probably it'll get you farther than it should. I'll say that, especially if you're on like the early floors, just kind of just smacking away, being really aggressive can get you somewhere, but eventually it's going to get you in trouble. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, what else can we do? Because we have 2 other buttons here that we haven't really talked about yet, right? So we got this punch. What happened there, right? So, punch. Punch is pretty quick. It doesn't change up close, but if I just mash my punch button, I do a couple of hits there, don't I? And so there's a few fun applications that we can do with just punching a lot. But also you'll notice, it doesn't really do as much damage as when I do that, right? Those 3 punches, yeah, it does okay. This is Guilty Gear Strive. Damage is pretty high, but it's nothing compared to bop, 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 boom. Okay, well, let's ignore that last part. That was muscle memory kicking in. Pretend that didn't happen. We'll talk about that later. Different lesson. So why would I punch, right? Punching doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. What's the point? Why would I do that? Well, hold for a second while we get out Potemkin here. Okay, let's talk about Potemkin here. Because Potemkin's a character that is known to... okay, well, I thought I had our button settings figured out here. What happened? Pause, please. Whew, okay. Alright, we gotta figure it out. Okay. Bringing it back. So here's Potemkin. Potemkin, pretty obnoxious character for a lot of starting players. He does a lot of damage with some very easy hits. Like right there is about half my health. He's a big fan of grabbing. He does a lot of that. A lot of just tossing to the ground. And then the worst for a lot of new players is this. Heavenly Potemkin Buster. Big problem. So, what we're going to do here is I'm going to record Potemkin here. Just heavily Potemkin bustering me immediately, right? Boom. So much damage. Big pain. So now every time I restart, I'm going to get Potemkin bustered. Big problem, right? So what can we do to challenge this, right? Okay, well, trying to slash him didn't work. Let's try heavy slash. That worked. Didn't work that time, though. So assuming I didn't do this weird little shuffle at the beginning, because that's what's saving my ass there, is that weird little shuffle. But assuming I try to do it as soon as the grab comes out, I lose. I lose because of those startup animations. Same with that slash. Again, because of the stuff shovel, I'm saving the day there. But you'll see that punish in the top right corner there. So what that means, whenever you see that, it means that Potemkin grabbed me before my hit came out, right? So while Giovanna was getting her legs up, getting ready to do those kicks, Potemkin's grab came out and destroyed me. Bam. So what if I do one of my lighter buttons? Okay, well I waited till after the shuffle that time, didn't I? And it still stopped it. So what's going on there? Why is that happening, right? Okay, well, we whiffed that one. We whiffed that one, didn't we? So what's happening there? What's happening there? What's happening is, whenever Potemkin goes for that grab, he's got a pretty quick start up to it, right? But your tiny little light buttons, they come out even faster than that. So that means that you can use these light buttons as a way to check pressure for moves that are going to take longer to come out, right? Again, I'm using very baseline language here. If you go look at other guides, you'll see a lot of talk about frame data, things like that. I don't want to get into that. I know some of it, you know, not all of it, but I know some of it. But that kind of stuff doesn't really, until you have like a more fundamental understanding of things, all that information doesn't really mean anything to you, I don't think. So the important thing to know just now, if you are just starting in Guilty Gear, is these little light buttons are really good ways to punish some of those bigger hits. So if your opponent is constantly going for this grab, if you use a little bit more of your light buttons here, you know, you can put a stop to that. You can beat them every time. And you won't do a lot of damage, right? Like, just look at how much that kick's doing. It's not a whole lot, right? But the important part is that you can basically force them to stop doing it, right? That's what you really want. You want to stop getting Potemkin bustered. Because look what's on the line if I get caught. There goes all my health, right? He's already halfway ahead, and the match just started. But if I hit him with this tiny little kick, boom, I put a stop to it. So that's kind of the first application of these light buttons, and it's not just the Potemkin buster. I'm using that because that's the new person killer, right? That's the new player destructor. We don't want that. I want to give you the tools to not allow that to happen. So your light punch, your light kick, you can use those to just put a stop to that immediately. Now, a good player is going to respond by starting to use some lighter buttons themselves and trying to challenge you in other ways. But for a lot of people on the early floors, all they're interested in is getting that Potemkin buster. So even just doing this over and over to stop it, it's going to get you pretty far. So with that, there's only one last thing that I think I want to get into today for our normals lesson. Maybe two. Let's do two more things, right? I don't want to make any of these lessons too long because I think overloading people with information is a problem. Okay. So last thing I want to talk about, we're going to cover two more things, and we're done, all right? We're going to talk about crouching, okay? So when we crouch, our normals change, right? So Giovanna still has multiple kicks, but now we're just doing two down here with slash. And you'll notice we don't have a close slash, right? It's just one thing. So we can punch low, we can kick low, we can do a heavy kick low, which for Giovanna has some interesting properties that I'm gonna talk about just for fun, just for me. And then we also talked about dust, right? Which we're gonna go into that later. Okay, we're gonna go into dust at the very end of this lesson. That'll be the final thing. But when we do crouching dust, and this is kind of, I think, very useful to know for every character, crouching dust is often your longest range low hitting move. And we'll go into why we want to hit low sometimes in the blocking lesson. But for right now, if I crouch and do low, we get this, with Giovanna, we get this really long range like sweep, right? Really helpful for knocking someone off their feet, getting a little time to kind of move around yourself, maybe set up some pressure, you know? So with every single character in the game, pretty much low dust is going to be your longest reaching sweep, which I think is helpful to know for new players when trying to catch people unaware. Let's talk about standing dust, right? This one, right? It's got this really, really long startup, very obnoxious in terms of how long it is. And so a lot of people often say, what is the point of this move? Why would I do this? It's so dumb. It takes forever. And I get hit out of it all the time. I'm always getting hit out of it. So let's talk about what its purpose is, and then I'll talk about why, especially on the early floors, it's very hard to get it off. So we're going to put our opponent in blocking. He's going to guard everything. And he is going to not. He's gonna block switch. It means he's gonna block everything no matter what. So I can't catch him in the legs. He's gonna block it all, right? And so if I do dust here, well, when he's standing, he blocks that, right? So what happens if we go in here and we make it so that block switching is disabled? Okay, that's not what I wanted. Ignore that. we got to do some differences here. There we go. Okay. So now he's crouch blocking, and he won't change, which means that now he's not going to block high. Right? He's always blocking low. It's so hard to open someone up who's doing this a lot of the time, especially for new players. So now let's do a dust. What happened there? Why that? Hey, he's supposed to block low, right? He's blocking low. What's going on there? Well, what's going on there is dust has a unique property called overhead, right? So any move that is considered an overhead is a move that will still hit the opponent even when they're blocking low like that. So when I do this, if they're blocking low, they're getting sent. And so you'll notice that this animation here, it's got a really long startup, or it's got a really long animation to it, right? But can I do anything after that? Well, no, I can't really. So why is that animation so long? Why is it so long? Well, it's so long because if you tap up after getting a fully charged dust, this happens. Right? So what dust is for is it is a huge, huge opportunity to punish somebody who is constantly low blocking. And I should mention, you only get that if you fully charge, right? So if you just want to hit somebody, you just tap it, and it'll come out a little faster. But if you get that fully charged animation, you can follow them up, just beat them up in the air, right? And I'm not doing anything fancy there, right? While I'm following them in the air, I'm just hitting light buttons, right? I'm hitting light buttons and I'm ending with my heavy slash. Which you can do for most characters, though getting a feel for it is tricky. It's tricky. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll get more into like that sort of thing later. The most important thing I want you to take away from this, though, is just that's what dust is for. If someone is constantly crouch blocking, this is a way to sort of get them to not do that. So I also mentioned, though, that I'm going to talk about why it's so hard to pull off a dust, right, in low floors. And that is because your opponents are going to be very aggressive, right? Most early players or more inexperienced players will say they love to be very, very aggressive. They're always throwing out buttons. And so that means that this long startup thing, you're just never going to be able to get it out against players that are playing really aggressively. So you kind of have to get a feel for your opponent, right? That's a big part of fighting games, is just kind of understanding the way your opponent is working, the way they're operating. And if your opponent is just constantly throwing out moves, they're being very aggressive, you just shouldn't go for this dust. You just shouldn't. But if you're playing against someone that's like, it just seems like they're blocking everything, they're always guarding you in the corner, the next time that you have an opportunity to go up and attack them, instead, just go up and dust. Just go up and dust. You know, you need to send the message that, hey, you can't just do that. You got to play this game with me, or else I'm just going to keep, opening you up that way. And I think that covers everything that I wanted to talk about here. Yeah. Maybe. No. I lied. We'll do one last bonus lesson, and that's on something called command normals. So if you're new to Guilty Gear, you've probably tried going into your move list before. Command list. Now, I love this command list. I think this command list is incredible. I think it is amazing how they show you what the move looks like to be able to tell what you're doing, if what you're doing is right? And they even give you advice on like when you can use it and when to use it, how to do it, things like that. So I think this is amazing. It's one of the reasons that I really respect this game and really love it, is I feel like they're trying their best. Oh, excuse me. They're trying their best to get people into the game who have not played it before. But some of this stuff is still very esoteric. Excuse me. Some of this stuff is still very esoteric, very difficult, and so that's why I'm here today, So the last thing we're going to talk about is just this first category here. We're not going to worry about the rest of it. We're just talking about command normals. That's all. Just command normals. So what's a command normal? A command normal is when we press a direction with a button. And something different happens than what you normally expect that button to do. So for a long time now, right, we've seen this, our little light check here, right, with Giovanna, our little shoulder check. If I hold forward, well, now I get this full-on long punch. Look at that. A little bit more reach on it. It's got a little bit more startup too, but we get a little bit more distance out of it. That's kind of fun, right? So what's the point of this? What can we do with this? Well, if we look on the command list, we'll see that it says that it's got upper body invincibility. So what that means is while Giovanna is doing this move, the upper half of her body actually can't be hit, right? That's sort of a weird thing. So let's talk about why that's helpful. So we've now set up a recording for Potemkin here to just mega fist me right in the face. Okay, we screwed that one up. Ooh, what happened there? What's going on there? Okay, I screwed it up. I screwed it up. Timing is still very important, right? If I'm too late, he's still gonna fist me in the face, right? Right there, I didn't press it. But when I do that, well, we traded there, but you get the idea. This is a way that you can punish any sort of anyone coming at you from the air. This is a way that you can punish that. Universally, every single character has this. Literally everyone. So every character in Guilty Gear, if you press forward and punch, you're going to get that little thing, and on all those characters, you're going to be immune from the torso up, from damage. And so we can just knock them out of the air with that. And we'll go into... screwed it up a lot there. There we go. We're going to go into more detail in a future lesson on what we can do after that, because we do have some options there, right? We do have some options there. So once they're in the air, look at that. I can beat them up. I can beat them up so bad for making the choice to just jump in on me like that. It's pretty cool, I think. So that's one thing you can do that's very, very easy. Easy punish that you can do for anybody that's constantly jumping on you without having to know any of the other moves, right? Without having to know any of the other special moves. Now you have a simple tool to be able to stop air pressure. Not bad, right? And the last thing we're going to talk about is this other command normal. So every character has sort of a different amount of command normals, but most have at least two. So with Giovanna, the only other command normal that she has is this one, right? And I see a lot of... Let's get Potemkin out of his crouching state here, huh? I see a lot of new players run into this problem where whenever they want to go on the offense, they immediately like hold forward, and so they end up accidentally doing a lot of command normals that they don't mean to do. So that's a good thing that you want to kind of try to get out of the habit of if you're someone who does that. Is stop holding forward when you want to attack, unless you mean to, right? Press forward only when you mean to. And so with Giovanna, we get this little hop here, and you notice it has a pretty long startup animation, right? And so if I mean to do that, but I instead do this, it's pretty easy to challenge that. This command normal it's really easy to knock somebody out of it. So watch out for that if you're playing as Giovanna, pressing forward and heavy slash. Like only do it if you really, really mean to. So what's the point of it, right? Well, with Giovanna, one of the fun things about this command normal is we get 3 hits out of it. So that's pretty cool. That's fun. But when can we use this, right? Because we've talked a little bit about how it's very easy to punish. So, you could use it in neutral. Neutral being when neither person has an advantage, right? Neutral is kind of a state of the game where you're both just kind of looking for an opening, trying to hit each other. And so when I'm in neutral, there's probably some applications for this, right? But for Giovanna, this actually works a little differently. There's some more fun ways we can use it. So we talked a little bit earlier about the crouching normals, and you'll see that so Giovanna's little close slash has a property that we haven't discussed, or at least I didn't discuss earlier. So this will be kind of the last little treat for the lesson on something. This is a combo that we can do without doing anything fancy. No special moves, right? This is only normals and command normals. And we're going to do a full combo with Giovanna. And it starts with close slash. Close slash is the key to it because it pops Potemkin up a little bit, doesn't it? And so what we can do with that is we can actually keep Potemkin in the air. Okay, so I whiffed on the last hit there, but you get the idea, right? We use this, we put Potemkin in the air. Okay, I lied. Okay, sorry. We do have to do one special move to make this combo work with Giovanna. That's my mistake. So we'll get into special moves later in another lesson, but it's only one special move in a combo, right? Everything else I do here is all normals. So we do our close slash, our down heavy slash, sepulture, and then we kick. Now I'm whiffing a little bit on the timing there. I'm whiffing a little bit on the timing there. But if we get it, yeah, you kind of got to delay that last one a little bit. Oof. But this is one of the ways that we can use our command normal, right? Is we can use it to sort of wrap up a combo for someone that's in the air. Another way that we can use this is that low, the low dust that we talked about earlier. Okay, right, I forgot. Potemkin falls pretty fast. Actually, maybe we can't with him. Never mind. Boy, this lesson's turned into a bit of a mess. So some of the characters will actually fall faster than others, which is something we'll cover in a different lesson. But my choice of character here makes it so that Potemkin falls before I can demonstrate sort of the last little combo I want to do there. Anyway, I think that's enough for one lesson. I hope you have a better idea now of what you can do with your normals if you're someone who's just starting out trying to figure out how to play fighting games. And so just, you know, key takeaways. Let's talk about key takeaways. So we can use our light buttons to stop strong attacks and attacks with long startups and grabs, right? We can knock people out of that before they get us. Our forward punch stops air pressure. So if someone's constantly trying to jump in on you, you can use this to knock them away. And then also, let's not forget our most basic combo, close slash, slash, kick. Okay, so you saw the way that the number looked there, right? It's kind of purplish. So what that means is that they could have escaped that combo. If it's nice and like that means there was no opportunity to escape. But anyway, so I think that covers everything. And I hope that we, at the very least, I hope we remember our most basic combo of close slash, slash, heavy slash. Great stuff. We can do that every time with almost every character. Almost. We might have to go into some differences in the future, but with almost every character, we can do a slash, and do a slash, and do a kick. And this is what Guilty Gear calls a Gatling combo. Most basic type of combo that most characters can do. And we will go into all the things we can do with the Gatling combo in the future. And that marks the end of our first demonstration, first lesson. Next time we will go into blocking. And there is going to be a lot more to talk about there than you might suspect.